First at 10, a weather watch alert, wet and windy with the worst of this storm arriving overnight. We'll talk timing and accumulations.
The legislature's Black and Puerto Rican Caucus gathering for a town hall to hear constituents' concerns. We'll tell you what's on people's minds here at the start of a new year.
And we're taking you to a local basketball game where donations were collected, that is, to help the families who lost everything in a summer's house fire.
Fox 61, Connecticut's news station, begins with a weather watch alert.
And we begin tonight here on the weather as yet another storm system is bearing down on the state. You're looking at live radar right now as heavy rain and strong winds make their way across Connecticut. Thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 10. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. We began today with a lot of snow on the ground, but by the time you wake up tomorrow, don't expect to see much of it at all. Tonight's rain's going to wash it all away, and now there's a serious threat of severe flooding.
Connecticut's news station has team coverage tonight following everything this storm might bring. Meteorologist Ryan Breton is in studio tracking rising water levels across the state. But let's first send things over to Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank for the overall forecast. Rach?
Well, the good news is the worst part of this storm is going to hit overnight during a time there's not as many people out on the road. The bad news is even after the last raindrop falls, we think there still will be issues for the morning commute tomorrow with heavy wind-driven rain coming down tonight. There could be some downed trees and power lines, and some flooding issues may remain for the morning drive as well. It is raining moderate to heavy all across the state right now, and if we widen out the picture, you'll see there's still plenty more to go. Check out this line that we're seeing here to the south and west of us. This may be where we see the worst wind and the heaviest rain of the system, and it's kind of the grand finale that comes in on the back edge. So I think the worst of this will be between around midnight and 4 a.m. as that final push comes through. Grand total, we're anticipating 2 to 4 inches of rain. Put on top of that a lot of the snow melting, and that's why we have those flooding concerns. We're also anticipating gusty winds, especially with that line I just showed you, that could reach up to 40 or 50 miles per hour inland. And for the Connecticut shoreline in southeastern Connecticut, there could be gusts around or over 50 miles per hour and even approaching 60 possible. So some scattered outages. We'll be watching for the potential for that, and minor to moderate coastal flooding that will peak during high tide tomorrow morning. Here's a look at the future radar, again showing that push of heavier rain outside overnight. But notice as we head towards 6 a.m., the rain is out of here. Right now we're looking at incredibly mild temperatures. We're closing in on 50 degrees, and the temperatures will only continue to rise as we head through the overnight hours. We're also going to see the winds pick up. So again, even though we are likely dry for the morning commute in most locations, we still think the impacts from flooding may remain. For more on the flooding threat, let's head to meteorologist Ryan Breton. Hi, Ryan.
Rachel, those rising temperatures you point out really important as the heaviest rain comes through, because that's going to add to the snow melt as that heaviest rain falls. But take a look at the rain we've picked up so far. Almost 2 inches of it in Shelton, Woodbury with 1.5 inches of rain, Southington about 1.33 inches, Manchester around 1 inch, and Lyme closing in on 1 inch of rain as well. There are several rivers we are watching for flooding. Of course, we don't have a gauge on every river, but these are some of the bigger rivers to keep an eye on through the day tomorrow and even Thursday for flooding. The Yantic River around Norwich, moderate flooding predicted. The Housatonic River around Monroe, moderate flooding also predicted there. And then in the Farmington River in the Simsbury area, expecting minor to borderline moderate flooding as we get into the night tomorrow night and the day on Thursday. So it will take a while for some of the rivers to respond. But ahead of that, we already have a couple of river flood warnings. The Housatonic and the Farmington River already have those warnings that have been issued. If you live in low-lying, susceptible areas, if you flooded in some of the events we saw back in December, it's possible you'll be dealing with that tomorrow morning or even into tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night as the rivers keep on rising. So in the morning, be aware around some of the smaller streams, the tributaries that tend to respond first, and then these larger rivers are going to keep going up through the day tomorrow. For example, in the Simsbury area right now, the river's only at 14.3 feet, but it's going to go up at least another 10 feet, it looks like, cresting Thursday morning. And that means some of these areas areas: Old Farms and Tolliston Road in Avon, Route 315 in Simsbury, and Meadow Road in Farmington, likely to have water later tomorrow into the day on Thursday. And even some of the low-lying areas around Bloomfield may have some issues too. Rachel's back with much more on another storm, believe it or not, that may play out similar to this one coming up. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Yeah, lots of good information there. Stay with Fox 61 through this weather watch alert as we track the rain coming these next couple of days. You can always track the latest conditions where you live and across Connecticut with the Fox 61 News app. New here at 10, officials say a state trooper was injured in a crash tonight on I-91 South. They say it happened near the Middletown and Meriden border. The cruiser was hit by another car. The trooper was sent to the hospital with minor injuries. No one else was hurt, but the crash is still being investigated.
A former elementary school teacher in Plymouth will not go to prison after being accused of sexually assaulting several of his students. James Eschert had previously pleaded guilty to charges of risk of injury to a child. Eschert had been accused of inappropriate conduct with several students as far back as 2016 and 2017. A judge ordered a suspended prison sentence for Eschert, meaning he won't serve time. He will serve 5 years of probation. Eschert is also a defendant in 3 active civil suits against him by his victims and their families. A Massachusetts woman is dead tonight following a car versus tractor trailer crash on I-91 North. Paula Garcia was in a car traveling near the exit 29A off-ramp in Hartford shortly before 3 this morning. Police say the driver of the car slammed on the brakes and was rear-ended by the tractor trailer. Garcia died at the scene. The driver of that car was sent to the hospital with injuries. We're waiting tonight for an update on his condition. The tractor trailer driver was not injured. Well, new here at 10, lawmakers from the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus hosted a multi-hour town hall meeting tonight. Still going on right now, as a matter of fact, to hear from community members ahead of the 2024 legislative session.
Fox 61 political reporter Emma Wolfhorst was listening in. She joins us now in studio. So, Emma, what were people's concerns?
Well, Sarah, Brent, this public forum started back at 5 o'clock tonight, and some of the main issues discussed: education, health insurance, and eviction protections. All topics important to these lawmakers, and some say they will be priorities in the upcoming legislative session.
The legislators who claim to represent us do not.
Tuesday night, lawmakers from the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus listened to hours of comments from residents about issues impacting them.
Public educations, they need more funding.
Funding for education, a main concern echoed by many speakers.
When the public school had the proper resources, I believe our children have great opportunities to be successful in school and life.
Some people weren't just advocating for public school funding, but for more school options.
You have the right to choose where your kids go to school.
And topics in school also brought up Tuesday night. 2 juniors from Weaver High School spoke about wanting Black and Latino studies incorporated into regular history classes in all Connecticut public schools.
We are history. There shouldn't be a split about whose history is more important to know.
It's offered to all Connecticut public schools, but it's in an elective. And that this is something that is good that it got to that point, but the bill needs to be strengthened, and that's something that we're working on.
Outside of education, expanding health insurance and funding child care programs were also big issues for residents.
I have mothers, single mothers, that called me today and basically crying. But I also have 20 plus staff members that I have to pay and make payroll for.
Constituents also asked for stronger tenant rights and eviction protections.
We live in constant fear of an electrical fire killing our dog or our upstairs neighbors when we aren't home. In response to pushing the issue, our landlord told us that they would waive the penalty for breaking the lease and encouraged us to move out.
And other topics mentioned tonight include rights for new immigrants, addressing police and prosecutor misconduct, and sewage overflows and flooding here in Hartford's North End. Multiple lawmakers say these are all issues they want to see tackled come February and are using tonight's comments to shape the caucus's policy initiatives this legislative session. Sarah, Brent.
All right, Emma, thank you. It's been exactly 1 week now since 4 children were killed in a house fire in Summers, and as of tonight, we now officially know their names. 11-year-old Lucas, 9-year-old Genevieve, 7-year-old Benjamin, and 5-year-old Archer were all part of the Kuropatkin family. They were killed in a fire at a home on Quality Avenue last Tuesday night. The entire Summers community still very much in mourning. A visitation for the children will take place this Thursday, starting at 5 p.m. at Leet Stevens Funeral Home in Enfield.
And as the community grieves, more groups are supporting the families affected by the fire. In nearby Suffield, donations were being collected for the family at a girls' basketball game against Coventry. The school's personally connected with the tragedy. The aunt of the 4 children worked there as a PE and JV girls' basketball coach for a number of years. Players also wore white shirts with 4 hearts representing the young victims. If you would like to still help support the family, we have a link to do so on our website, fox61.com.